Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha, and I'm a member of Northwestern IT Research Computing Services. Welcome to this tutorial called Text Editors Nano, Introduction to Nano. So this video is divided in 3 parts. In the first section, I will explain what is a text editor and some of the reasons why you should use a text editor. In the second section, I will go over Nano, which is one text editor, and I will explain how to perform some basic operations there, such as creating a file, saving a file, and a couple of shortcuts. In the third and last section, I will show a demo so you can follow along. Section 1, Overview of Text Editors. Let's start with the most simple question. What are text editors? Text editors are a tool that allow users to perform actions that range from writing a note to create scripts for automations. What makes text editors very special is that unlike other editors or processors such as Word, text editors do not have any formatting options. This means that when you're using a text editor, you cannot change the font size of a word or its color, because all their actions are restricted to plain text output. So, what are the benefits of using a text editor? Some of the benefits are that they facilitate file management in the terminal, and that by focusing on content rather than style, they are very flexible for different kinds of purposes. For example, you can use a text editor just to write yourself a note, not to forget to buy a certain thing, or you can use it to code big applications. A quick search online will show you that there are many text editors out there. There is Nano, Beam, Micro, Emacs, Notepad. In this video, I will talk about Nano due to its popularity for being a very beginner-friendly interface. Section 2, Nano. As I mentioned before, in this section, I will just explain how to perform some actions, but then you can follow along with some practice in section 3. So the first thing you need to do when using Nano, or for that matter, any kind of software, is to check that that software is already installed in your terminal or whatever you want to run it in. In this case, we can check whether or not Nano is installed by running the command nano -- version. If you get an output that looks like this picture in this slide, then that means that Nano is installed and therefore you are good to go. On the other hand, if you don't get an output like this, or you get something that says that the terminal doesn't recognize the word Nano, that means that Nano isn't installed, so you need to do that first. Because every computer has a different operating system, we will not go over these steps to install Nano, but please feel free to reach out to us if you have any problems with this. It's also important to mention that if you're using Quest, then Nano should already be installed. Creating and opening a file. To create or open a file, you can run the command nano followed by the file name. If the file name already existed in the directory before, then Nano will just open that existing file. On the other hand, then Nano will create it and open it. As soon as you hit enter after typing Nano and the file name, Nano will direct you to a panel that looks like this. As you can see, this is a Nano panel, and one of the reasons why people say that Nano is very beginner friendly is because it shows a lot of its main commands at the bottom of the panel. In this case, this arrow key stands for the control key. So if you want to get help, then you would click Control G. If you want to exit the Nano panel, you would click Control X. Editing a file. Now that you have opened the file, then you probably want to write something there. You can do so by just start typing. Something that you will notice about using text editors is that your mouse track doesn't work as it usually does. This means that if you try to go around the file using your mouse, this will not work. To move around the file in a text editor, you need to use the arrow keys. Of course, if the file is very large, then using the arrow keys can be really annoying, and that's why we will go over some shortcuts later on. So now that you have edited the file, you probably want to save it. If you want to save the edits in the very same file, then you can click Ctrl-O followed by the key Return or Enter. If you want to save the edits both in the same file and in a backup file, then first you need to save the edits in the same file, as I just explained, and then you need to save the edits in a new file. You can do so by clicking Ctrl-O followed by Escape B. A message that says backup should appear. Then write the name of the backup file, select Return or Enter, and finally select Y to agree that you agreed to save the changes in the new file. If you only want to save the edits in the new file, then ignore the first step and then just continue with the next set of steps. Some shortcuts. Some Nano shortcuts will make our process to navigate through the file and edit our file way easier. To navigate through the file, a very popular shortcut is the search shortcut. By pressing Ctrl and W, you can search for a specific word or pattern in your file. If you want to go to the very beginning of the file, then you can press Ctrl W followed by Ctrl Y. If you want to go to the end of the file, you can select Ctrl W followed by Ctrl V. If you want to select a line or a block of text, then you can use Ctrl 6. And if you want to copy this block of text, you can select Alt 6. If you want to cut a certain block or line of text, you can select Ctrl K. And if you want to paste it, you can use Ctrl U. Finally, to delete a block of text, you just select Ctrl K. Section 3, Nano Demo. So now we will move on to show you how to perform some of these actions in the Quest terminal. So as you can see, I'm in the Quest terminal now, and I'm in a folder called Nano Tutorial. When I run the command ls, it tells us that in this folder, we only have a text that's called long text. So let's start by first checking that Nano is installed. We do so by running nano -- version. As you can see, here Quest is telling us that Nano is already installed. Therefore, we can continue. So now let's start by creating a file called hello world. Nano hello world.txt. As soon as I hit enter, Nano takes me to the Nano panel, and now I can start editing the file. In this case, I will just make a very simple edit, and I will state this is my first edit. Now that we have opened this new file and edited, I want to save it. And I will do so by clicking Ctrl-O. So Ctrl-O. Now it is asking me if the file where I want to save it is hello world, or maybe I want to change the name of the file. In this case, I don't want to change the name of the file, so I'm just going to hit enter, and that's it. Now let's exit the Nano panel with Ctrl-X. Now, when I run the ls command, I can see that there's a hello world file in the directory. Now, if I run nano hello world again, and I exit it, and well, first you can see that it is opening the existing file. And when you exit this Nano panel and you run ls, you can see that there's a new hello world.txt file. So now let's create a new file. In this case, let's call the file original. Now let's edit this new file. This is my first edit in the original file. And let's save this. But in this case, we want to save this edit both in the original file and in a backup file. So first, let's save it on the original file. We do so by clicking Ctrl-O. Yes, we want to save it in a file called original.txt. So that's it. But now we also want to save it in a backup file. So we click Ctrl-O and then Escape B. And as you can see, now it says backup. Now Nano is asking us if we want the backup file to also be called original. In this case, I don't want the file to be called original, so I will just change the name to avoid any confusions to backup. And then I select enter. Now Nano is asking me if I agree to save the file under a different name. I will select yes by typing Y. And that's it. Now let's exit this panel. Let's run ls, and we can see that we have the backup file and the original file. And when we open the backup file, our previous edit is also there. So now let's exit. Finally, let's go over some of the Nano shortcuts. Let's start with a pre-populated text file, which is called long text. So let's open it, nano long text.txt. As you can see, here we have a bit of a longer text, just so we can effectively go through some of the shortcuts. So the first shortcut we will review is the search shortcut. We can search for a specific word or pattern by clicking Ctrl-W. As you can see, as soon as I do that, then the word search appears. And now you can type what kind of word you're looking for. In this case, let's say I'm looking for lorem. And then select enter. It takes you to the very beginning of the first instance that it finds to match the pattern. In this case, it takes me to the third word, which is called lorem. If you want to go to the second one, or in other words, to the next one, then you can just select Ctrl-W and enter. And then it will take you to the next one. If you want to keep going, Ctrl-W, enter. Ctrl-W, enter. Now let's go over a different shortcut. Let's say that you have been editing a very long file for a while, and now you want to go to the very beginning. You can do so by clicking Ctrl-W, followed by Ctrl-Y. In the opposite case, if you want to go to the very end of the file, you can select Ctrl-W, followed by Ctrl-V. So now let's go over some editing shortcuts. First, let's see how we can select some text. You can do so by clicking Ctrl-6. As soon as you do that, the text that says mark set will appear. When it says mark set, then you can start moving around with the arrow keys to select your desired text. Let's say in this case, I'm selecting the whole first paragraph. And now, let's say I want to copy this first paragraph. I can do so by selecting Alt-6. Now, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste that copied block of text. And I can do so by selecting Ctrl-U. And now we have copied and pasted that block of text. Now, let's say that you've selected some text. So Ctrl-6, and you want to unselect it. then you just click Ctrl+6 again. So now that I have copied and pasted this whole first paragraph, now I want to delete it. So first I will select the text, Ctrl+6, and then to delete it, I can click Ctrl+K. And now it's gone. You can also use Ctrl+K to cut and paste. So for example, first I select it with Ctrl+6, then I cut it, Ctrl+K, but let's say I want it back, then Ctrl+U. And this is everything for this video. Thank you so much for your attention, and we hope to see you again in another tutorial.